Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Hare and Forbes Machinery House, Pace Farm, Hero Hoists, and Martin's Panel Masters.
Hello and welcome to today's show. Would you like to see some varied segments whilst here in the United States of America, of course thanks to Shannons? Well, stay right where you are, as I'm about to unravel this week's episode of Classic Restos. First off, we travel to the state of Ohio, where Bob has been collecting Lincolns and Thunderbirds now for most of his life.
I started collecting cars about 30 years ago, and now I'm totally out of control. I've got too many cars, but I love them all. We're in one of my buildings that has some of the nicer cars in it, and I'm here enjoying it with everybody else. Most all of the cars are or will be for sale. They're my hobby right now, but eventually though they will be for sale. I enjoy every minute I spend with them. I love them all, but I always favor the one I'm working on at the time. When I was a teenager, I rode a bicycle to school, and then I graduated to motorbikes. And in those days, the Windsor motorbikes were very popular. But when I became 15 years old, I bought a Model A Ford and drove that for a short time. And then after I got my driver's license, after I was 16 and got my driver's license, I graduated to cars. And I was always interested in Fords, and I was, at that time, my specialty was 46, 47, and 48 Fords. And I had several. A couple of my friends wrecked theirs, and I would buy their wrecked car and fix it and end up driving it or selling it. And that kind of got me started in the car business. I enjoyed working on them even when I was just a teenager. Classic cars to me are like part of my family. These cars here are all baby, just like any of my kids are. And they're all under car covers. I keep them warm. They're in a heated building. And I take real good care of my cars, just like my family. I have several parts cars. As a matter of fact, I'm sort of out of control with part cars. I've got about 300 cars. And they're all parts to take care of my babies here. And they unfortunately are outside. I can't afford to keep all of them undercover and keep them heated like these cars. But I do have the parts to repair anything I need for these cars. I keep the parts in semi-trailers. I keep them out of the weather. Try to take the best care I can of things that I plan on using or that someone else can use. I make the parts available to anybody who might need them. I enjoy the cars that I've got, which are basically all 1960s cars, because it's an era that I grew up in, and the cars just mean a lot to me. It brings back a lot of good memories. And they're good mechanical vehicles also. I really enjoy them, and they're very dear to me. A couple of Lincolns with 460s in them, and they're just wonderful cars, and I get good mileage when I drive them. A lot of people are not happy with the mileage out of the 460s. And around town, they aren't the best in the world, but on the road, I think they perform very, very well. I probably, if I were going to do this all over again, I would probably do the same thing again. I can't think of anything I would rather do, and I just enjoy what I'm doing, and I would do it all over again. I can give guys out there and gals too a little advice. If you are planning on restoring or in the process of restoring a nice old car, and it seems like a project that you'll never finish, don't give up. Stay with it. It's worth it. I've got a lot of projects of my own. I'm always happy when I finish one. It's worth it. So keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Isn't this graveyard amazing? The cars that back in the 1950s and 1960s that mainstream America could get themselves into. If you had a good job, you could score yourself a Thunderbird. As for Bob's collection, 37 years of collecting to date, and he hasn't finished yet. How has he acquired all these vehicles over so many years? Well, I guess there has to be something said for being in the right place at the right time.
My passion for cars began when Nana and Pop bought their new Toyota Crown. It was Nana's, really. She loved that car. We went everywhere in it.
My passion now is just the same, even though my cars are a little different.
I've still got Nana's car, couldn't part with it. And I reckon if she was here today, she'd be insured with Shannons too.
Call Shannons on 13 46 46. Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts.
In 2019, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicenter. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Book your 2019 Detroit tour with Fletch. 1300 146 392.
How would you like to double your garage space and work on your cars easily? Well, bring in your own hero with a Lift King hoist.
Easy to install models in 1, 2 and 4 post styles. Check the very nifty Spider 2500 portable mini scissor lift. Hero hoists are either Oz certified or carry the Euro CE, your guarantee of quality construction and reliability.
I regularly stand under my Lift King, so when you need a bit of a lift, why don't you go stand under yours? Hare and Forbes Machinery House has been family owned and operated for over 85 years, and it's easy to see why. Planning on welding? Look at these welding tables and clamps, air compressors and different air tools, sandblasting cabinets, through to spray guns. Everyone is welcome at Machinery House. There are competitive freight rates around Australia, and you can buy online at machineryhouse.com.au. So remember, Hare and Forbes has the range. Well, there is no doubt that Mark from Shannons is no stranger to Classic Restos. You may have seen the episodes last year where he took his mighty 1971 Imperial 3/4 the way across the United States of America. And the year before that, a 1978 Mercury Colony Park Woody wagon. Well, it's time again to catch up with Mark to see what vehicle of choice is on the agenda for his trek across the United States in 2018. Well, Mark, welcome once again to these exclusive episodes, the 2018 trek across the United States, of course, thanks to Shannons.
Always great to be here, Fletch.
That is good. Now, Mark, you're getting a little bit of a reputation here of grabbing these cars, whether you get them from the turkey sheds or wherever you find them, and doing that run from around Ohio all the way back to your shipper at San Francisco. You've certainly got some runs on the board now. You drive these cars tirelessly across the United States. You always have a fantastic run. This year, well, another Mopar.
Yeah, I've got a few miles under my belt in the USA, and the vehicle of choice this year is a 1966 Dodge Monaco.
Lovely car, love this. As I've said many times before, there's something about the simplicity. This is like a Valiant on steroids. You look at the dashboard, you can see Dodge Phoenix in there. I love the nice low lines of this era of car. The visibility, the A-pillars are narrow. It's just a real good-looking thing.
Yeah, I like the grille. I think the grille looks really good with the almost like a shaver sort of metallic look. And the rear taillights in particular, I always love those on the Monacos. And Elwood Engel did the design for the car. He also worked with Ford Motor Company. And you can see some similarities to the 65 to 67 Ford Galaxies. And, familiar with our people in Australia, be familiar with the Dodge Phoenix, around 65, 67, very similar look too.
Back to those taillights, they are sensational. Round taillights, synonymous with Ford. There's no doubt about it that we've got the shapes in the back here that are very Dodge, and that traditional shape went through like some of the Polaras as well. And when they're on the road, they certainly, from a distance, you can just tell that it's a Mopar from the mid 60s. Now, this particular car, once again, we've got a standard car here with its dress rims, its wheel covers, original car, original interior. Do you know much about the history of it?
Oh, I don't have too much of the history. I mean, the car has been refurbished. The interior has been restored, but it's been restored back to original factory specification. So I like my cars to be factory standard. It does have dual exhaust. I had those fitted with some glass packs on the back, because that always sounds good.
That's all right. You're allowed to have two pipes. At the end of the day, if you don't like two pipes, you can easily make it one pipe again. Not that I know anybody that has done that. Now, engine up front. Now, this is a good little package here. We've got a 383. Now, they kicked a lot of tail back in the day. Again, we're just above the intermediate class here, but it's not, a real big, heavy, bulky car. So, now, last year, we had the 71 Imperial hosting the 440. Now, that did a wonderful job, and that thing could really motor. I think when we look at the ratio here with the weight difference and the 383, it's no slouch either.
No, I mean, the car's a lot lighter than the Imperial. It's a 383, which is still a big block V8. It's got the torque flight automatic transmission, which Chrysler's renowned for, but it drives beautifully.
I love the skinny tyres too. There's something about that.
You've got to be a little bit careful. If you put the foot down a bit hard, they can break traction pretty easily.
Well, then you start having too much fun, Mark.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
They have some advantages, though, the narrower tyres, because they can, in some cases, on wet roads particularly too, they don't call them cheese cutters for nothing. They actually cut through, and driving in the right conditions, they don't do a bad job.
Yeah, I'm hoping not to have to drive through too much heavy rain on the way across to San Francisco. But that's true. The thinner tyres actually do give you better traction in the wet than the wider ones.
Now, does the heater on the car work, Mark?
I haven't tried it yet, Fletch, to be honest.
Well, you better, because remember last year going through Colorado with the snow? There's no doubt about going across the United States of America. The landscape changes, they're never ending. You have your green belt, you have your Rocky Mountains, you've got your deserts, you've got your snow. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I love about the US, that there's so much variety in the landscape. And the freeway system's so good, so smooth, and these cars are just made for this sort of environment. Fantastic.
Back to this car, I love these things. There's just something about them. You look at this car here. We're here at Murray's, where the turkey sheds are, and, well, you've seen this before on Classic Restos. We keep returning. There's a section of every trip where we allow to come back and see Murray. He's become a personal friend of ours. But there's something about this property as well. Driving here, and as soon as we see the turkey sheds, it's almost like, wow, what's here this year?
Yeah, there's a different sort of birds in the sheds these days from turkey, so of the Mopar variety.
Good on you, absolutely. Mark, let you go. Now, we are beginning our trek. Well, we've started our trek many days ago. We're around about the halfway point now. You've just acquired your car. So all the best for the rest of the run across the United States of America.
Thanks very much, Fletch. Looking forward to it.
All right, and we'll keep you closely posted on the episodes as well. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Fletch. Yeah, gee, I love these cars. You know, it really goes back to when I was a little kid. I remember, you know, my dad had the '72 Ford Galaxy LTD, and I've still got that car, I'm happy to say. And I've always loved these cars, you know, television shows, seeing the American shows on TV and being really impressed as a kid. And just, I love the style of the cars, just the way they glide along the road. And I guess unlike a lot of the newer cars these days, they've got a lot of character. You know, each car and each make and model, they look different. You know, you can pick them out, you know, whether it's a Dodge or a Mercury or a Lincoln, Cadillac, whatever it happens to be. And it's just a passion that I've had all my life. It's never going to leave me. It's just part of who I am, and I just love them. I guess with these types of vehicles, you know, they're the bigger cars. I like the larger vehicles. I mean, I do have a muscle car at home as well, and I know the muscle cars are really popular and they're fantastic. But these big cars are just so nice to drive. You know, they glide along the road. It is like floating on a cloud. You know, you just cruise along, plenty of room. They look good. They feel good on the road. You're not really interested in how fast everyone else is going. You're just cruising along, relaxed, enjoying the journey. It's fantastic, really is. You've got to get behind the wheel of one of these things. I know, I guess some people might find, you know, driving across the US pretty daunting, and I guess importing a vehicle into Australia. But really, it's a really worthwhile experience. You know, I guess buying a vehicle, driving it actually in the US, that, you know, in its own home where it was made, and then bringing it back to Australia and using it back there. It's a really unique experience, and you know, I'd highly recommend it. I guess what I'd also say is when it comes to a classic car, you know, Shannons we really firmly believe in, it doesn't really matter what type of vehicle you like. You know, it can be American, Japanese, European, Australian. It's just about sharing that passion, and one of the really important aspects is, you know, is getting younger people involved, kids involved. You know, take a kid to a car show. Often those passions are stirred up. You know, it could be an uncle or a brother or a father, whatever, a mother. Just those memories are really powerful, and they stay with you your whole life. And, you know, I've got a lot of those memories, and I know that's part of, you know, why I'm so passionate about these vehicles. So you should definitely go for it.
Don't forget, when you have a moment, to pick up the phone and give Shannons a call for a quote on 134646. And if you have anything to do with a classic bike, classic car or a classic truck club, make sure that it's listed with the Shannons Club for all the world to see. For more information, visit shannons.com.au.
I spend a lot of time out here. The RT Charger's the real deal. An E49. Remember A-Charger? I've always got projects on the go, so Shannon's laid-up cover helps protect my restorations. I'm Mopar through and through. It's a passion Shannon's understands. I wouldn't insure my cars and bikes with anyone else.
Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Call 134646 for a quote.
In 2019, why not consider a Detroit tour with Fletch? Detroit, the automotive epicenter. It will leave you gobsmacked. Imagine experiencing where automotive history on a grand scale began. Stay in fine accommodation, taking in some of the best museums and private car collections on the planet. Book your 2019 Detroit tour with Fletch. 1300 146 392.
If you have a restoration project, Hare and Forbes has the tools that you need. Shrinker stretchers, dollies, mallets, bead rollers, profile gauges, professional panel restoration kits, and so much more. Now I warn you, enter at your own risk, because you will end up buying something. So come along to your Cap City store or browse and buy online at machineryhouse.com.au, because Hare and Forbes has the range.
Martin's Panel Masters has 3 modern accident repair centres. They service Melbourne's inner, outer east and the fast-growing southeast corridor. Your vehicle will receive the best from state-of-the-art repair equipment, finished beautifully from computer-based paint mixing systems, finished in Australian-compliant spray booths. Martin's Panel Masters, located at Ferntree Gully and Berwick, also Box Hill Panels.
Welcome back. Now you may remember on last year's episode here in Ohio, I had the pleasure of interviewing Murray Park's mother, Jane, with her delightful 1956 Cadillac. Well, that was right here in this location. But today, it's back with Murray as he shows us his 1958 Chrysler Windsor replica police car.
What we have here is a 1958 Chrysler Windsor four-door sedan, not the most exciting car in the world. I actually purchased it back in the early 1990s from the original owner who owned it since, bought it brand new in 1958, had the original 58 paperwork with it. Actually, most of the paint you see on it is original 1958 paint. Although it was just a black four-door sedan, it wasn't a terribly exciting car, and at the time my father was in the two-way radio business where he had been since the early 60s fitting police cars with radio equipment, lights, sirens, and things, and he came up with the idea to make a police car replica out of it. So fortunately he had most of the equipment we needed. We put the proper era radio equipment, light, siren, did a little striping and put a car number on it and some stars for the doors, and it's turned into a proper era police car replica. Big hit at shows now. It was just a boring car before, even though I liked it. Most people just walk past it. Now you take it to a show, you can have a line of Roadrunners and Cudas sitting there, and they all swarm around this old Chrysler. So I really like driving it. Basically an original car. It's got about 70,000 miles on it. We did replace the 2-barrel carburetor with a 4-barrel. It's got a 354 cubic inch, what they call the polyspherical engine, which essentially the bottom end's the same as a Hemi, but it has polyspherical heads on it instead of Hemi heads. So it runs quite well. It's got dual exhaust. Everything's original drum brakes all around. You name it, it's all in the car, and it's really a big hit at the shows, and we really enjoy it. I know you may have seen me on Classic Restos before. Fletch has been to see me a few times now, and I always welcome him. Really a great guy, but these old Chryslers, that's what I do. That's my business, my job, and my passion. I've got more than I can care for, as Fletch well knows. But I love them all, and always welcome new additions. Whether I got a place for them or not, we always figure it out. So I'm all about saving the Chrysler heritage. Most of my collection ranges from the late 50s through the late 70s, a little bit into the early 80s, but I just appreciate them all, and I think they're great cars. Some people might say I was born with the car gene. I've been all about cars since I was just a young boy. At the age of about 5 years old, I started collecting hubcaps. Right now I probably have hubcaps, all makes and models. It never mattered to me. I was just a hubcap fanatic. Now I probably have 250,000 hubcaps in my collection, but when I was 5 or 6 years old, my grandmother would ask me, "What do you want for Christmas?" And I'd tell her, I want some hubcaps. And she'd trudge out to the local salvage yard and dig me out a box of hubcaps and wrap them up and put them under the tree, and I couldn't have been happier. By the time I was 11 or 12, I started buying whole cars and getting into car parts, and got myself a job at the local salvage yard after school and during the summer, and it's just grown from there, and now it's almost up to a sickness. But I got a lot of stuff, and I enjoy it, and I'm going to do it as long as I can do it. I really love driving these old cars. Actually, I don't even own a late model car, if you will. Other than my trucks that I use for my work, I don't have anything newer than in the 70s, and that's what I drive. It's what I drive daily, what I drive all the time. And even this car, it was built before I was born, but it's just, when I get in it, it just is how a car should be. I don't like these new cars. They got too many gadgets, too much going on. I don't like the feel of them. But one of these old cars just does it, and I'm not all about upgrading them with disc brakes and fancy stuff and making them like a new car, because I like an old car before the feel of an old car. I don't want to make my old car look or drive and run like a new car. So I'm not into the whole resto mod and late model engines and all that. I'm not about that. I like to keep a car original. Doesn't matter what type of car you're into. If you're into classic cars, whether it be Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, or even others, I appreciate them all. I've just chosen to only own Mopars because that's my thing, and that's what I've ingrained into my head. But I appreciate them all, and it's just about keeping the dream alive. If there wasn't people out here to take care of these cars and love these cars, you know, they'd be lost and the next generation wouldn't have them to see. And hopefully we can keep them on the road, and whether they're shiny or a bit ugly, it doesn't matter. I just love to see them going down the road. I mean, it's not all about having a restored, beautiful car. So if you have a car that is less than beautiful, but you can drive it, certainly don't be ashamed, because it's just great to have them out there. And you know, I plan on doing this as long as I can. I hope I got a lot of years left, and I'm going to keep at it and do my part to keep the dream alive.
Well, I hope you've really enjoyed this week's episode of Classic Restos as we make our way across the United States of America for 2018. Of course, thanks to Shannons. And how cool was the episode? A little bit of Bob, a little bit of Mark, and of course, rounding off with Murray, featuring this incredible 1958 Chrysler Replica police car. As I say at the end of every episode of Classic Restos, no matter where you're watching the show from, until next week, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching.
You can like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Classic Restos TV and watch catch-up episodes at shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons, insurance for motoring enthusiasts. Hare and Forbes Machinery House, Pace Farm, Hero Hoists, and Martin's Panel Masters.